fictitious Rock High School is undersubscribed, struggling and getting negative coverage in the local press. The new head wants to improve the school's reputation, but faces a daunting task. Unruly students, errant staff and crafty journalists seem determined to give him a hard time. We've asked a group of real school staff, journalists and experts to take part in these imaginary scenarios in order to show you how to handle a media crisis.
The first thing we'd like the school to do would be to contact us in the first instant. We would act as the intermediary between the school and the local paper. We'd obviously like to, make sure that we put together a short holding statement that didn't imply any implication of guilt or otherwise, because obviously there'd need to be an investigation carried out. We would also recommend to the journalists that they may need to check with their legal department whether or not, in fact, it would be appropriate for them at this time, with an unsubstantiated story, whether or not to publish at all.
If we get a press inquiry about this and there is some thought that the girl has said that she wants to go to the press about it, I think we need to just play a very straight bat. And I've talked to the local authority people about this. I think we simply say that every time the school receives child protection disclosures, it refers them to the police and social services, who have the responsibility of determining what happened, what kind of investigation, if any, to have, and all the rest of it. I think the other thing I'd want to say, particularly to that lowlife Richard Brock, is that this is an underage student who's made this complaint. Her identity needs to be protected. And of course, if there is anything in her allegation and it later comes to court, they need to be very careful not to give it prejudicial coverage.
Staff should be asked not to speculate. They should be told, if necessary, not to speak to journalists about what's going on, and the responsibility for dealing with the journalists should be taken at the top level where the investigation is taking place. It should be made perfectly clear that what's happening is an investigation. It needs to be impressed upon the journalists that the matter is being dealt with seriously and thoroughly.
When the inevitable phone call comes from our dogged journalist, the head gives a masterclass in tough stonewalling.
Hello, Filippo here.
Mr. O'Hare, it's Richard Brock from the Rock Record. Good morning.
Oh, hello, Mr. Brock.
Hello. Mr. O'Hare, we've had a young female pupil come forward to us alleging sexual misconduct against one of your teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard about this?
A child protection disclosure has been made recently in school, and it's being dealt with appropriately by police and social services with whom the school is cooperating fully.
Okay, so will the school be putting out a statement about what's happened?
Of course not. As you're well aware, Mr. Brock, child protection matters are dealt with in the strictest confidence, and I can't say anything other than we are entirely and fully following the procedures as advised by the police and social services.
Is the teacher being suspended?
We have acted as directed by the police and social services, and that's all I'm prepared to say.
So the teacher may be being suspended?
I'm not prepared to make any further comment. As this is now a matter being dealt with by the police and social services, should there be need to issue any further statements, they will come from the local authorities press office.
Okay, just a final thing then. Have parents been told?
We've followed the procedures as directed by the police and social services. I just refer you back to my first answer.
Okay, so the parents are aware of it.
I refer you back to my first answer, and I do wish you'd stop treating me like a complete idiot, Mr. Brock, by asking me the same questions over and over again. I'm being as full, frank and clear as I'm able to be, and I have nothing further to say.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. O'Hare.
Bye-bye. Bye. Well, that is all we need.
Not one to be easily put off, our journalist decides to visit the school and doorsteps a colleague of the accused teacher.
Have you heard about what he's been up to?
But what can a school do if staff or pupils are approached by the press?
The first responsibility of every school leadership is to protect the interests of the children. And it is important that they be protected from harassment. So if there are journalists doorstepping outside the school premises, the school's writ, if you like, does run that far, and it's proper to ask the journalist to leave in the interest of the pupils.
While the head can insist that staff don't talk to the media, Lola has other ideas.
Is this phone inquiries? I'd like another from Max Clifford. I think I've got a story that's worth a lot of money.
It seems the girl may be trying to involve Max Clifford.
Good gracious.
Now, I hope that will come to nothing. I think even the lowest of the red tops wouldn't pay for this story, because I don't think their lawyers would let them run it, because she's underage and it would be sub judice anyway. But just in case, we will take exactly the same line.
So our line's not changing, we're playing the same...
Our line not changing one little bit.
It's probably the sort of thing that young children are more likely to do in this day and age, but it shouldn't really make any difference to the way we're handling it, because we'd still be viewing it as potentially a story that, you know, may have some substance to it. It'd still need to be investigated in exactly the same way.
If the story involves a serious allegation, don't go it alone. Don't talk to a journalist even if you know them personally. Turn to the experts, the police, your lawyer or local authority press officer. Let them handle attempts by others to manipulate the press. It's the summer term, and just as Philip thinks he can relax, another of his young teachers decides to boost his income by writing a newspaper article about the temptations of schoolgirl Lolitas. The style is somewhat overblown.
Essentially, it is a big game hunt. The all-important preparation. The silent stalk. The crouch before the final pounce. And yes, they have bagged themselves a live teacher. Yeah, that seems to sum it up.
Clues in the anonymous article clearly suggest that it was written by a teacher from the school.
I am livid. I mean, the best you can think is that they think this is funny. The worst is that they actually know that we're vulnerable and they can put a knife in. But we clearly need to do what we can, leadership team, to get our ears to the ground and see if we can find out who's written it.
That's an excellent idea, but I think what you might also consider is getting in some of the technical ICT people.
I have already got the IT people to do an immediate backup of everything on the system, and I will talk to them. I'll talk to the council's IT department, whether we'll need forensic IT people in as well, to do a word search to see if keywords from this article come up somewhere.
If you have a teacher who thinks he's a journalist manqué, make it crystal clear that writing scurrilous articles could lead to him losing the day job. The Lolita article has reignited media interest in Rock High School, and the school is now attracting TV cameras.
Failing school Rock Secondary is about to go into special measures. This year, fewer than 10% of its pupils obtained 5 good GCSE results. Local shopkeepers are barricading their stores against some pupils, while other pupils are spending far too much time sleeping with their teachers to have time to shoplift. The school has now been marked for closure.
Faced with a load of half-truths and total inaccuracies, Philip turns yet again to his trusty lawyer.
As I understand it got at least 5 factual errors in this story, so it rather looks as if you've been defamed. So you've got a legal remedy against that. The first step, of course, is to get it retracted, and you'll probably be content with that if you get it sufficiently prominent. And we can demand a retraction, not just ask for one.
Is the best way of dealing with this to ask you to approach the television company's lawyers?
I think it is, really, yes. And it's all very well to think you can self-help your way around these problems, and I'm certainly not one for sending somebody to lawyers at the drop of a hat, but dealing with something like this, it's probably better to get a lawyer's letter written to the editor. You'd need to be personally probably the claimant, as it were, in this, because it's very difficult to establish that you've been defamed as an organisation, but you've been defamed as the head.
If a journalist gets his facts wrong, and then fails to retract, get the lawyers in. Despite all Philip's hard work, Rock High School starts the summer term still undersubscribed and facing the threat of closure.
Save Rock School! Save Rock School!
This would cost his staff their jobs.
So, how was your day?
I've had better.
Oh, come on. Rock Secondary's not that bad. I used to work at the school up the road, right, and the head there insisted on us basically cheating by over-helping the kids with their GCSE coursework. I mean, in the end, we were virtually doing it for them.
Well, it worked. I mean, nobody's talking about closing your old school down, are they? And that's what the head's honesty did for him. It's not always the best policy, is it?
No.
Oh well.
The rumour about a nearby school massaging their results reaches the ears of our tireless reporter.
Hello, Rock High School, Jeff Shepherd speaking.
Like many seasoned journalists, he softens up his contact first.
There's some better things today. I'm told that Rock's done really well in the recent exam round.
Oh, we have indeed. Yes, we're very pleased about those.
It's good news. Nice to have some good news for a change. Hey, listen, just one other thing. The school up the road, which I know has a similar catchment area to yours, it seems to have done significantly better. Now, why would that be? They got better teachers, have you got worse teachers, or what's going on here?
Well, I can't really comment on the results of our other schools. I mean, I try and concentrate on what we can do to improve things here, and we're certainly moving in the same direction.
Between you and me then, Jeff, and if I'm going to sort of go off the record here and put the pen down, if I said to you that we've had rumours that there might be a bit of cheating going on at the other school to massage the results, does that come as news to you?
It comes as complete news to me. I read about the massaging results in some of the national press, and I hear about some of these items on TV, but it's not something which I've picked up locally at all.
Do you think it's a possible explanation?
I couldn't really comment on that, Richard, and I think it would be improper of me to comment on what's happening at another school, to be honest with you.
All right, Jeff, we'll stay in touch.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye-bye.
Remember, journalists are rarely your best friends. Their loyalty is to their editor. Don't be lulled into unguarded chats, even when they appear to have put their pen down. With a new school year about to begin, here are some tips for our team to ponder.
The first is don't antagonise journalists. They're doing a job, they're trying to get at the facts. Help them to get at the facts. If the facts are not what they put to you, then make sure they're corrected. Second important point, tell the truth. It's important to tell the truth. There is no point in dissembling. You're going to be found out. Third important point, after investigation, the news turns out to be good. Make sure that the journalist is clearly told that the investigation results in good news, and tell good news about the school. If the outcome is bad, make sure that you say to the journalists very clearly, this is what we're going to do to make things better.
If you've got a crisis situation, it's good to make sure that you've got a credible spokesperson that's identified. It's always good to make sure that you put out consistent messages, so you're not cutting across other agencies if you're working with them. Be proactive. Actually, don't just wait till bad stories are happening. Be proactive, get out there with good stories, and remember that it's not that difficult to make a good friend of the local paper, so invite them in for the good things as well.